Good morning. Welcome to First Parish in Brookline. Whether you've been coming for decades or this is your first time, a very warm welcome to those who are here. And we're glad you're here and thank you for being here because it's a holiday weekend. Hi, kids. Wave hi. Come on, wave. Right. My name is Sue Andrews, and I'm the worship associate today at First Parish. Our guest minister this morning is Reverend Joe Murphy. And Reverend Murphy occupies her time as a research assistant, wedding officiant, and dreaming into being a holistic women's center. Reverend Joe enjoys runs that end in brunch. Who doesn't? Art museums and limericks. She can be found swimming in oceans, lakes, and streams all the way up to November. First Parish is a welcoming Unitarian Universalist congregation, open and affirming to all people. Whoever you are, whatever your gifts or abilities may be, however you identify your gender or sexual orientation, wherever your life and faith journey has taken you, you're welcome here. If this is your first time, oh well, I had a yellow card. But anyway, or you haven't done it yet and you would like to, please take a moment to fill out one of the yellow visitor cards that you'll find in clear plastic, there it is, Lacey has it, envelopes on the backs of the pews, and place it in the offering plate as it comes around. After the service today, everyone is warmly invited to join us for conversation and refreshments. Through this door right over here, go down the hall and turn right into Lion Chapel. We encourage, both newcomers and people who've been here for a while to pick up one of our striped mugs at coffee hour. This indicates that you might have a special interest in starting conversation with anyone you don't know well. And you might just, take that moment to go past your fear and break the ice. One announcement today. This Friday, October 18th, at 6:30, will be our first welcome dinner of the year. It's taco night. You guys like tacos? Cool. All right. Bring your family, invite a friend or a neighbor who may be curious about First Parish, and join us for a community meal and conversation. A delicious taco dinner with all the fixings will be provided. Now remember that because it's going to come up later. By our men's group. Yay, men! You are welcome to bring drinks and desserts to share. And there's a link in your order of service, or it's online, you can RSVP, so we'll know how many of us will be there. Everyone's welcome, all ages. And now,
we start this morning with the poem Determined Seed by Laura Wallace. As frozen earth holds the determined seed, this sacred space holds our weariness, our worry, our laughter, and our celebration. Let us bring seed and soul into the light of thought, the warmth of community, and the hope of love. Let us see together, hear together, love together. Let us worship. And now, if you would please rise as you're willing and able, and join me in singing hymn number 309, Earth is Our Homeland.
At this time, I would like to invite Margaret Kane and Julie Horvath, two of our beautiful altos, to come forward to light the chalice, symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith the world over. As they light the chalice, please join me in our unison affirmation, printed in our order of service in English and then again in Spanish. We give ourselves one unto another, covenanting to walk together as a congregation, promising faithfully to watch over one another and to delight for love to abide in our midst. Nos entregamos y nos comprometemos a caminar juntos como congregación, prometiendo con mucha fe cuidarnos mutuamente y deleitarnos en el amor que permanecerá entre nosotros. Each week, we also light 2 candles, each candle representing a different place on earth that we want to lift up and remember this morning as a sacred encounter with the world. Today, we're having 2 candles of hope, because we can use all the hope we can get. As we light the candles, after each candle is lit, we will speak the words for peace in English, Arabic, and Hebrew. Peace, salam, shalom. Our first candle is lit for the state of Maine, where in April of this year, the governor signed a bill to establish Indigenous Peoples Day, joining 6 other states now officially using the second Monday in October to acknowledge the historical and cultural legacies of Indigenous peoples. Those 6 other states are Alabama, Hawaii, New Mexico, Oregon, South Dakota, and Vermont. Our second candle of hope is lit for Fort Yates, North Dakota, on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation, where recently on October 8th, climate activists Greta Thunberg and Tokata Iron Eyes were blessed in a smudging ceremony and drum circle. May this candle symbolize blessings for all efforts to stand up for the survival of our planet. Salam, shalom. Let's do it again because I forgot the first time. Peace, salam, shalom.
If you would now join me in singing out the children to their classes. God of many sources, ground us in this moment, allowing us to feel all the joys and concerns said today and all the ones we hold in our hearts. Ground us in this moment, allowing us to feel the land beneath our feet. Let us feel held in this moment and in moments after. Let us feel grounded in a way that we can extend compassion to others, to the land, and to ourselves. With compassionate breath, we pray. Please join me now in a moment of silence.
This reading is a poem by Laura Da. Laura is a public school teacher, which will become obvious, and she is a member of the Shawnee Eastern Tribe. Remember I said to remember about the taco night and who was preparing it and blah, blah, blah. Well, the beginning of that sentence, taco night will be prepared, is in the passive voice, because we don't know who's preparing taco night until we add by men. So the title of this poem is Passive Voice. I use a trick to teach students how to avoid passive voice. Circle the verbs. Imagine inserting by zombies after each one. Have the words been claimed by the flesh-hungry undead? If so, passive voice. I wonder if these same sixth graders will recollect on summer vacation as they stretch their legs on the way home from Yellowstone or Yosemite, and the byway's historical marker beckons them to the site of an Indian village where trouble was brewing, where after further hostilities, the army was directed to enter, where the village was razed after the skirmish occurred, where most were women and children. Riveted bramble of passive verbs arched in wood. Stripped hands breaking up from the dry ground to pinch the meat of their young red tongues. The offering will now be gratefully received. If you're visiting for the first time today, please feel free to let the basket pass you by. We're so glad that you're with us.
For all the gifts you have given and for all that we have received, we say thank you. You would now join me in singing the beauty one more. I will not be reading True Myth this morning because I found a better reading. This is called America, I Sing Back by Allison Adele Hedge Koch. America, I sing back what you sung in. Sing back the moment you cherished breath. Sing you home into yourself and back to reason. Oh, before America began to sing, I sung her to sleep, held her cradleboard, wept her into day. My song gave her creation, prepared her delivery, held her severed cord beautifully beaded. My song helped her stand, held her hand for first steps, nourished her very being, fed her, placed her three sisters strong. My song comforted her as she battled my reason, broke my long-held footing sure, as any child might do. Lo, as she pushed herself away, forced me to remove myself. As I cried, this country, my song grew roses in each tear's fall. My blood-veined rivers painted pipestone quarries, circled canyons while she made herself maiden fine. Oh, but here I am, here I am here. I remain high on each and every peak, carefully rumbling her great underbelly, prepared to pour forth singing, and sing again I will, as I've always done, never silenced unless in the company of strangers, singing in the stoic face, polite repose, polite, while dancing deep inside, polite, mother of her world, sister of myself. When my song sings aloud again, when I call her back to cradle, call her to peer into waters, to behold herself in dark and light, day and night, call her to sing along, call her to mature, to envision, then she will make herself over. My song will make it so. When she grows far past her self-considered purpose, I will sing her back, I will sing, oh I will, I do. America, I sing back what sung you in. Now, if you're ready and willing to sing Beauty Within, I invite you to rise and sing. Whenever my sister and I pass the fields of Baker Bridge Road, we flick our car lights on and off, letting the land on Baker Bridge Road know we have loved and love this land. All my sisters and I in our teen years worked at the Food Project in Lincoln and Boston, Massachusetts, a project that works on personal and social change through sustainable agriculture. The Food Project works on bringing together youth from diverse backgrounds to farm and learn together, not only about our food system, but wider systems and social constructs of race, gender, and inequality, working to build not only a summer program, but a community. As someone who grew up in Massachusetts and was taken on hikes, apple picking, and had a little backyard, I of course had an appreciation for the land and even a knowledge beyond myself. I attempted planting an occasional vegetable in our backyard, and I took time to write former President Bill Clinton about oil spills and the safety of whales. Though I was disappointed when I received a keepsake photo of Bill and Al instead of a commitment to saving the oceans, I did experience a childhood where what happened to the oceans and lands did not have a perceived direct impact on me. I was worried about the earth, but in the same way, I was worried about children in poverty across the world. These were concerns that seemed far from not only my control, but from me in general, which of course they were not. Though we may often feel cut off and far away from the land, it is always below us. Whether that below entails right beneath our feet, or first covered in cement, pavement, maybe wooden beams, basements, dwellings below, it remains there with its own layers of dirt, dust, crumble, rocks, and water. A land that, whether we remember it is there or not, has not only a complicated history, but a violent one. A land not only stolen, but stolen by force, through violence, through genocide. As Unitarian Universalists, some of us native to the land, many of us not, we often commit to protecting and standing up for our earth and her many lands through our daily actions of maybe composting, using less, planting, through rallies and protests, through policy and activism, through petitions and service. I wonder, though, through all of these actions, do we remind ourselves, do we remember and feel that this land is sacred? An anonymous artist from the Ranapo Lenape Nation tells us, these lands are sacred lands of many nations. Natives aren't just stewards. These lands have an indigenous future. As you use when we talk about the history of the United States, we often attempt to talk about its violent past of claiming land through murder and through rape. The Unitarian Universalist Association, on its webpage dedicated to 10 Ways to Honor Indigenous People Day, suggests ways to learn about and lead education on Native peoples, actions to rename Christopher Columbus Day, movies to show, books to read and discuss, and even ways to talk about the connection between the history and migration and immigration today. While learning, reading, discussing, and acting on this history is so needed, I wonder where the sacred comes into play. I did not feel any sacred relationship towards the land until I worked on it and with it. I felt admiration and beauty and wonder, but I did not fall in love until I was 14, and I was down on my hands and knees, liberating tomatoes from hornworms, lettuce from weeds, and potatoes from the ever-dreaded, obnoxious, frustrating potato beetle. Then I fell in love. I fell in love in part because I was a part of something. I was responsible for helping things grow, and in part because I was amazed. Amazed that so many things could grow and then be eaten, could nourish people all in a relatively short amount of time. Our anonymous artist talks of Native peoples not only being stewards, but holders of the future. This reminds me to think about the idea that many believe that decolonization cannot happen unless all the land is given back to the people it was stolen from. I think this is a complex idea, complex in the history of a nation who brought over slaves, who have hosted many in the past from forced migration, a nation who perhaps owns land and reparations to many. Though it is complex, I believe it is worth thinking about. With that said, I want us all to try to meditate on this for a bit. Whether you are native to these lands or whether you are not, I want you to all settle into your seats. Take a few deep breaths in and out, and let your eyes close as your body relaxes. I want you now to take a moment and think of a piece of a land you love. A piece of a land you remember, live near, or just whatever pops into your head when I say land. When you envision this land, I want you to go to it in your mind. I want you to take a moment to feel what's going on around you. Maybe your land has a swing set on it. Perhaps it is somewhere you used to run near. Maybe you are thinking of land right near your current home, or perhaps it is near a home of your past. Let yourself be in this land for a bit. Are there trees? A farm? Can you see the sky? Perhaps there is a certain sound you associate with the land, a whispering among the leaves or grasses. Let yourself be still and take in the sounds, the smells and sights. Find a place on the land to sit or stand and allow yourself to be still. And now I want you to think about how you would like to be in right relation with this land. For those of you who are perhaps native to this land, perhaps right relation is this land being a symbol of land coming back to you and your family's ownership. Perhaps right relation for you is getting to know that land is being given back. For those of you who are not native to this land, perhaps being in right relation is giving up that land. Or perhaps it is turning into a sprawling tree nursery, a garden, a farm. For all of us, I think we should spend a moment thinking about what it could mean to be in right relation with our land. What relationship could we have to make it sacred? For those of us who are not native to these lands, myself included, I want us to take an extra moment of what it would mean, how it would feel to give up property. People before related to land more collectively, not only here in America, but in so many different places of the world, even including in Europe and many other places. All of our ancestors, whether we have a history of relating to the land or relating to it much more collectively than we do today. Let us remember this, and then imagine again what it would be like to give up land, to perhaps abolish the idea of private property, of us owning land. Perhaps that is when the sacred comes in. Let us sit with this for a bit, keeping in mind to stay settled in your body. As you sit, I would like to read you another poem, Remember by Joy Harjo. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father. He is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are. Red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life who have all have their tribes, their families, their histories too. talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind, remember her voice. She knows the origin of the universe. Remember, you are all people and all people are you. Remember, you are the universe. Remember, all is emotion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember, the dance language is, that life is. Remember. Now take a moment to come back to this room, this present moment. When we think about the future as Indigenous, I think we all have to think about a lot of different complexities and ways of being. Maybe what this means is the form of decolonization that means giving back the land to those it was stolen from. Maybe it means finding ways in which all people who have come to the US by force, through slavery or through forced migration, can also have rights to land along with Native people. Maybe it is just more of a collective future. Regardless of our actions with land, we need to be part of a reframing of the future as Indigenous and go back in all of our histories to when all of our ancestors interacted with the land as much more sacred. Whether our ancestors come from here or far, there was a point for most people in which more direct dependence on the land led to a more sacred relationship. When people indigenous to lands all over the world cultivated a reciprocal relation to the land, giving way to being part of a more sacred moving cycle. Robin Weld Kimmerer, a scientist, biology professor, member of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, talks in her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, about discussing the future of the environment with her students. She talks about asking her students in a writing seminar about relationship to land if they loved nature. Of course, all the students were excited and energized to talk about their love of nature and the earth. She then asked them if they thought the earth loved them back. Silence. After a few moments, she rephrased the question and asked her students, what do you suppose would happen if people believed this crazy notion that the earth loved them back? Her students then couldn't stop talking. As she explains, we were suddenly off the deep end, heading for world peace and perfect harmony. One student summed it up, you wouldn't harm what gives you love. We talk all the time about loving the earth, and yet we have let her come to a dangerous point where honestly she might be better off getting rid of us and restarting with an ice age. But what if we found a sacredness that was a reciprocal love, a land that we love and also loves us back? Robin tells us of an experiment one of her students did in which they discovered that sweetgrass grows better in places where it is being harvested. It is a reciprocal plant that loves back. It not only gives when taken, it gives more when taken. In some ways, letting the earth love us is learning in which ways it already does. When I was little, we had a wishing well in our backyard, also known as a small temporary pool of water that was discovered on our hill when we removed a giant rock. My sisters and I would wish for things, then look for the wishing well to provide us with these wishes. Honestly, who knows what we wish for? But we always pretended we got exactly what we wished for. The thing is, I only remember the gifts I received, not the gifts I had wished for. I tell this story not to demonstrate the point that we only receive what we need, but that the earth and land have the capacity to give and to be part of a reciprocal relationship. For my sisters and I, the magic was not in what the earth could provide, but that it could provide. We are at a time of receding glaciers and scary future forecasts, and we should be a little scared, but also we have to envision a future. Part of loving someone, of loving something, is the ability to visualize a future with them. Part of trusting that the world will love us back is not only giving love, but imagining a future of love that is beautiful, that is a future of us loving the world, the earth, the land, and the world, the earth, the land, loving us back. I learned to love the land through farming it. I made sure that the plants I planted gave back, that they didn't deplete the soil, and she gave me back food and community. Find ways to love the land in ways where she can show her love back. Work towards right relationship with a land that longs for an indigenous future that holds sacredness dear. Robin Wall Kimmerer ends her book, Braiding Streetgrass, with this: "It's our turn now, long overdue. Let us hold a giveaway for Mother Earth. Spread our blankets out for her and pile them high with gifts of our own making. Imagine the books, the paintings, the powers, the clever machines, the compassionate acts, the transcendence ideas, the perfect. The fierce defense of all has been given, gifts of minds, hands, heart, voice, and vision, all offered up on behalf of the earth. Whatever our gift, we're called to give it and to dance for the renewal of the world in return for the privilege of breath." If you would now rise as you are willing and able and join our voices in our closing hymn, number 34, "Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire."
And now let us say the words for extinguishing the chalice as Reverend Joe does so. We extinguish the chalice, and not the light of truth, the warmth of unity, of the fire of commitment. These we carry with us and offer as gifts unto the world. And now if you will join hands or touch the elbow or the shoulder of a person next to you.
Robin Wall Kimmerer tells us, "Whatever our gifts, we are called to give it and to dance for the renewal of the world. Remember to dance. Dance and let yourself love and be loved by this crazy, beautiful world. Dance until your feet hurt and until you have remembered how much you love this land and how much it loves you right back. Amen.